Camera speed, speeding. Everflow podcast, YLA episode number either 2 to 17. Flake. What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Everflow podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about why we moved to LA and the lessons that we've learned on the way.
Oh, yeah.
And we also want to do a little recap of the things that we've been up to in the last few weeks. It's been probably the most busy season, but like in the most productive way that we've had as a team here. We've had multiple releases like coming out. We've had releases being uploaded. Today we're going to be uploading Figure It Out, Adam James's new single that we created all together. Hate to Be Lame came out a few days ago. Another Day Live came out
Yesterday?
today, midnight.
Today? Yeah.
Also known as yesterday, 9 p.m. our time,
Right.
West Coast time. So it's been really fun and really, that's why we're having the conversation of YLA, right? Because we had the experience too where Tones was on a cruise ship just a few days ago. I was in Hawaii just a few days ago. And in the midst of us being able to, keep track of all these projects and move all these things, we've been learning some valuable lessons. So let's talk about it. Let's break down what we've been doing for like the last week, 2 weeks.
Well, as you said, I feel like it has been the most, I think you said it, of like the most amount of responsibility that we've had as a business with everything that we have going on. So with the meetings that we've set up, with these podcasts that we've been having, with the production sessions, with Time Out, with administrative work, with taxes, with all the things that keep a business afloat, I feel like you and I are meeting a new echelon of a level of work that requires us to show up in a new way, but in a way that's sustainable. And so we've been learning through even some tough conversations how to show up in this way to make it not like a peak that we go back to some type of valley, but that this is actually a level of how can we sustain the level that we're at right now of the way in which we're showing up and the way that we're leading and the way that we're creating what it is that we're creating. So what are the projects that we have in stoking in the fire right now? So we have, again, Figure It Out with Adam James.
Yep.
Which was a whole, how many sessions?
Probably 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
And then some editing sessions that you were talking about.
Yep. So writing, producing, mixing, and then we just got it mastered.
Yeah, super exciting. That'll be coming out June 14th.
Yep.
So we'll see when this episode is out, but that'll be out June 14th.
Yep.
Very excited to have that one. It was a really beautiful process, and it's actually an episode that we're going to have with Adam James.
Yeah.
Have him come in, and we're going to talk about the creative process. We're going to talk about, how it came to be, and just a quick retrospect. Like, it was so much fun getting together. We wrote it here in our space. And then all of us decided very similarly, kind of like another day. We're like, yo, this is cool. You guys want to do this together? Let's produce it. And it's turned into a really beautiful expression of the power of teamwork, of the power of collaboration, and of the power of like having some systems in place and follow through, and of creating the plan and sticking with the plan. And then getting on the other side and being like, this is, wow, how do we even get here? Well, this is how we got here. It was through following these steps, following this kind of process that we have, and trusting in the teamwork and the creative process. So that's one of them. And then Hate to Be Lame is one that we just wrapped up with Rebecca Gray and Kyle Gray, who are dear friends who are in Orlando, Florida. And that collaboration actually started while we were back in Orlando.
Yep.
More than a year ago, I believe.
That was in March, right?
Something like
and
that.
Even earlier, or at least early March, because we shot the video in like March 21st, you said?
Something like that. Yeah, but it was definitely over a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was really funny. There's even a little clip where we were talking about like, oh yeah, like, we're not in any rush. And it's kind of funny because it's like, wow, a year and 2 months later probably of no rush. But the beautiful thing was that Rebecca and Kyle did a great job of following up with us because we were in the middle of the transition to LA, settling in here, on top of, finishing projects that we had commitments with still from our Orlando time and starting new ones here. So Rebecca and Kyle just did a great job of following up with us and being like, hey, we really want to get this thing out. We think it's amazing. Let's let's make a plan. Let's see how we can make it happen.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it came together in a beautiful way. And I'm glad that we saw it through, because it's a big win to be able to finish things that you start. I love it. I mean, I think that's something I'm going to talk about today during the episode of why we moved here in the first place. And also Another Day Live. That's one that just came out midnight last
When
night.
did we shoot that video?
That one was shot like March of 2023. When did I think we released Another Day in February of 2023, and we shot the video right after.
Right.
Because we were working on creating it so that we could have a follow-up content piece. But it was another one that kind of like we got some progress on. Yeah. Like the few weeks afterwards, there was a mix, there was a video edit, and then we just put it on pause. But the big win is that we came back around for me, you know, like getting to have another chance and another go at it. And instead of like leaving this thing in a hard drive in the vault untouched, like coming together as a team and like, you know, working like you finished the mix probably a month ago around, and perfect timing because we uploaded it right around then, and we did a little waterfall release so that we could pair it up with Another Day instrumental and the actual original Another Day. And Lewis providing mix notes, and Lewis providing the instrumental mix and master. And Lewis is actually finishing up the video right now as we speak as well, the video edit, and he shot it. So it's really cool, man, to have these things that we believe in and to go through life and to realize, you know, sometimes the path to finishing a project isn't necessarily linear. And so long as we keep the spark alive and remember the things that we've intended to be and come back to them, like they can happen. And they can serve a place and time in wherever you are currently, you know? And maybe it's not the time there and then, but around the corner, perhaps in a few months or in a year or 2 years, you know, it's something to look forward to. I have a piece of content that I'm really excited to drop myself, the Art of Letting Go lyric video.
Oh, snap.
That I haven't deployed, and it's been done for like maybe 3 years now, you know?
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of fun, like knowing like I have it, it's there. I'm paying attention to when I'll put it out, knowing that it's there, but you know, I'm keeping the spark alive, you know?
Yeah.
Just because I haven't done anything with it yet doesn't mean that I won't be able to do anything with it coming up. So been a big season for us in that way. And that is what kind of prompted this conversation about why LA. Let's talk about it, man.
Let's go into it.
Let's go into it.
We can go with the first question.
Come on.
So I'm thinking in a way we can kind of self-questionnaire on an individual basis, because of course we did this move together. Thank God we're able to make this move happen together.
Yeah.
Because I guess like origin story, I had been in LA back in 2014 when I met Tim Davis, one of my mentors, who radically changed my life, both in faith and in career. And that combo just like created a spark. And since living with his family that summer of 2014 and then hanging out with my cousin, that summer I got a taste of LA. And I was like, dang, this place is amazing. And I was still in college. So I went back to college just trying to like finish my degrees as fast as possible to get out to LA. And that was in 2014. So like 9 years later, this is a 9 years in the making dream of I want to go to that big land of LA and be a session singer and compose music for, originally back then it was like compose music for movies, like film score stuff. That's what I really wanted to do, is to get out to LA. And I knew over the years that I didn't eventually want to be 70 years old and wonder what would have ever happened if I went to LA. And I knew after making the leap a couple years ago when I moved from Seattle to Florida, what a leap feels like. All the bittersweet elements, all the tough stuff, the letting go and the embracing the new things. And so I'm familiar with that. And again, right timing. If I moved then in 2014, life would be different than my whole time here in Orlando. So just, again, entrusting that knowing that that dream is speaking to me and just finding the right time in God's timing when to actually execute on that dream, but not to let go of it if it's still calling me. If it's letting go, like becoming an EDM DJ, that's no longer in the books. So yeah, origin story for me was just meeting Tim about 10 years ago now and being like, I want to get to LA, and here we are now.
Origin story for me was when my family dragged me kicking and screaming away from Pennsylvania at the age of 10. Just kidding. That's a little too far back. I don't want to go. No, I mean, okay, so even then, really, if we're talking origin story, like, I'm so grateful that my mom and dad decided to move my sister and I down to Florida at the age of 10. I was 10. It was 2003. And if that hadn't happened, I would have never been here. I would have never been what I became in Orlando. I would have never... my life would have looked very different, because I have a feeling that, the opportunities that Orlando afforded me in terms of being able to create music and connect with music makers and dreamers and going for it. Like, I don't think I would have had that exposure in Pennsylvania. I probably wouldn't have had as many peers around me that were making music. So I just know that completely different track of life. If my mom and dad had listened to my sister and I, because we were telling them, we don't want to leave, but we were 10, we were kids. Now, I look at my Orlando chapter and I'm so grateful for it. 20 years living in Orlando. I became an adult in Orlando. Some of those incredible years of my life, also very challenging years of my life. But as I got older, I got the opportunity to travel with music. And I found out that that's something I loved. I got an opportunity to meet a lot of new people in those travels. And it's also something I realized that I loved. And when I got the opportunity to work on the cruise ship, huge realization, man, I love getting outside of my comfort zone, meeting new people and making music, right? So these kind of ideas, and I also felt like I thrived in a way that it was the ultimate thriving I had experienced up until that point in my life. And I remember I came back from the cruise ship. It was a really hard time. And then you and I met 2 years after I got back from the cruise ship. And then we went to Alaska together the following year. And I remember, I bring it up because when we were having breakfast in Fairbanks at the Cookie Jar, I think it's called, restaurant. Shout out to the Cookie Jar. I think that's what it's called.
Food. I forgot what I got, but I remember it was delicious.
Oh man, anything tastes good when you're surviving. You're like, I'm just happy to be alive.
Yeah.
And you asked me, hey man, have you ever thought of living in anywhere else other than LA? Or other than Orlando? Yeah. And I went into my 10 minutes of zone out, and you're like, wow, okay. And I came back, I'm like, I think I'm gonna move to Nashville. And that's, big COVID, it was happening during that year. Everything had changed for me. And I was wanting to move out because I had lived many years at home with my family. One of the challenges too of coming back from the cruise ship after living so much time by myself was that I did end up moving back with my family. And I had these urges to move out beforehand, and had always kind of listened to what my family was saying about the Latin culture which is a beautiful thing, family oriented and family centric, and yo, why would you move away? You have everything you need here. Yo, if you move away, you won't be able to support the household the way we need you. We need you and you need us kind of dynamic, right? So when you asked me about Nashville, or when the answer that I gave was Nashville, that was the first time in my life where I really started thinking about actually leaving Orlando. And I had enough time in Orlando that I was like, man, I feel like I need something different. I feel like I need something. But at that time, moving to Nashville was a little bit kind of running away from my world, as opposed to facing the things that were challenging me. And then Nashville didn't happen. And then the room at Eric's did. And you invited me to yo, bro,
Want to move in?
You want to move in? And that's the beginning of our story as Everflow and as Broskies. And then we started producing together a lot. And then you were talking about LA. And I was like, I've never officially thought about moving to LA.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Maybe lightly, maybe in passing, maybe over the course of my time in Orlando, some friends, music friends, moved to LA. And I was like, that's cool, but that's a whole nother world away. And it doesn't really have any major allure to me. I'd like to check it out, but not move there necessarily. And as we started growing together, making more music together, and you started kind of talking about the idea, I'm sure that's where it really was planted in my head. And I was like, I think I could do that. And then kind of along the lines of what you were saying about, you know, not wanting to look back on your life and wonder what could have been.
Yeah.
I was looking for the thing in my life that could be a catalyst to help me overcome, you know, my plateau. And it just worked out perfectly, man. Like I had already been phasing out of certain work that was kind of tying me to Orlando. And I was moving into work that could let me travel and kind of work from anywhere. And it just was the perfect time, man. So when we really started talking about LA, that was pretty scary for me, but it was also really exciting for me. And I just knew because of my cruise ship experience and the travels that I've been on, I love these kinds of adventures, getting away from the norm, getting outside of the things that I know. So it just, when we really started talking about it and you were on board, I was like, my bro. And the thing that helped me too was that we had a mission.
Oh my gosh.
With Everflow, you know, with the things that we've been building, with the momentum that we've been creating, with the reason why we were coming out here. You know, it wasn't just like, empty not knowing this.
Yeah, it wasn't like an aimless, which is interesting too, because it wasn't, I can maybe go into this soon, but like the whole aspect about, you know, people make a move like this, drastic cross country because of a job. It's like, or you have a guaranteed opportunity, or else how are you going to make money? Like these questions that make them move like, oh, because there's security, that's why I'm moving. And our security wasn't a job per se. It was the mission. Because it wasn't aimless. It wasn't, I'm going out there to find hopefully something that's going to give me purpose. It's the purpose that we're already building individually and collectively that is the driving force that's going to make a way where we're definite, preparation meets opportunity. But totally, there was like a momentum that even though we're standing on the cliff and it's blurry, but it looks great. The colorful elements of that move to LA looks beautiful, but it's blurry, but there's something there. And with the mission, it's in a way like the bridge is going to carry us through, which totally has been way more than I was even anticipating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something I'm really grateful for is what we've made together in terms of Everflow, because it's helped be an anchor almost in my life. And especially in this time of transition, you know, there's been something that's like, yo, we got stuff to do. We got things that we're working on. We have clients that we've made commitments to and that we're taking care of. And it's been really great because it's given me purpose and it's given me something that was really special for me, which is helping to awaken my own vision once more for my own dreams in my life, you know? Yeah. And like we hit the ground here and we hit it running, man. Like day after moving in, right? 2 days after moving in, putting the sound panels up. We have our housewarming party. The next month we have first time out. And, you know, now that we're here 8 months, like the question of why LA is such a beautiful question, again, to ask ourselves. I think it's interesting too. Willie Colon, our dear friend, we were having a conversation. He told me, he's like, hey man, like, you know, when you come to LA, try all the things, do all the things, you know, go everywhere, meet everyone, write with everyone. But at the end of the day, like, pull yourself to the side and remember, why did you come here? Yeah. Like, what is the purpose of you really being here? You know? Got any follow-up questions?
Yeah. So this is a big reason that came up for me on why for us to do this podcast is speaking to almost the version of ourselves that was here a year ago, visiting LA and being like, whoa, this is really cool. I have no idea what moving here would look like, but something about this is amazing. And for other people that are considering making some type of leap in their life, all of us, whenever we make that type of leap, there's I'm going to call it pretty universal experience. So I actually kind of, before we tap into specifically us being here now, is talking about that transition from a conversation at the breakfast table, like, hey man, I've been thinking at some point going to LA at some point, like, oh man, that's cool. And then staying in Orlando and working and doing the things. And then the building blocks that then made this possible. So like what comes to mind for me is I, over the years, have enjoyed the practice of some type of manifestation or vision or setting an intention or journaling about something that I know that I want, but I don't know how to get there. And for fun, I was like, I think for fun, like after a session, I was like, dude, okay, hold on. Let me just write out the blueprints of a house. Cause I was thinking we were going to move into a house in Orlando.
Right.
We were just going to move out of Eric's place, get our own spot, production house, make the whole thing happen in Orlando. Like maybe that's the best next move. Because what I was noticing, at least for me, was every time I'd fly back into Orlando, I'd get this feeling that's like, I just feel like with each trip that I'm visiting the past. Like there's a corridor ahead that I could build a future, but it feels a little dark. It feels like I'm kind of shutting down as I walk the corridor of staying in Orlando. So, okay, maybe it's a new house in Orlando. So I drew the blueprints of that house, of like what that whole like living room could look like. Living room, the bedroom layout, the hallway, the studio, the backyard. Is it a townhouse? Is it a home? Is it an apartment? Like, what are the specifics that can start to illuminate what that dream could kind of look like, to provide some specificity with this dream that's just like, oh, that'd be cool. But like to hone that in. And it's amazing to me, long story short, seeing how that blueprint is pretty much this house flipped. I had the rooms over on the opposite side from where they are now. And to me, that's just one of the tools that help to provide that dream and kind of this cloudy space to turn into something specific that then also was not going to happen unless we took action. So taking that dream into something specific, and then that plan or those things to try out, actually doing them, and then seeing kind of how things go. Nashville, no. New house in Orlando, no. Maybe an extended Airbnb or something like that in LA. Sure, we booked one. And then after that, I was like, it's not the right one. Let's book another one. And then after 2 or 3 times of different Airbnbs, this is where I feel like in our journey here, where both dreaming, turning that dream into an action plan, and taking action also aligns with having our antennas aware about signs and confirmations and things that are being spoken to us by other people, or opportunities that are happening that, if we're closed-minded to it, could miss that blessing. By that, I mean with Fish, who I know, amazing producer and dear friend, and I've known over the past couple of years now. It's because of him that we were able to find the place that we have now through his friend. And for me, Fish just knew that you and I were moving out to LA at some point, but didn't know when, didn't know like specifically when.
Right.
Didn't know our budget, didn't know anything. But the fact that he reached out to us at the time that after us already booking this Airbnb, nearing the end of no refunds, was able to lock in the space that we have here. And then how exceeding of the goals and dreams that you and I have that this place is. But we also wouldn't be aware of what it's exceeding if we didn't write down what those goals and dreams are. You and I sat down and wrote down in a Google Doc what we want in a home. We want the living room to be like this, high ceilings, floor to ceiling windows. For Birds of Paradise is my favorite plant. We have that in our freaking backyard.
That's crazy.
That type of drawing up the plans is what then started to pave the way amongst the mystery. And another thing that I noticed in this move is people who love and care for me and genuinely want the best for me, who I might share my music with, who I tell them I got the DiCapella contract with, who I might share some stuff I'm being challenged by. Those people that I would be so open to share that with, I realized had their own fears about if they were to make a move like this and presented those fears unintentionally onto me. About like, did you get insurance set up? Do you have your car all set up? How you get your licensing all figured out? Do you have a place locked in? You know, LA's super dangerous. You're going to get in a car accident. The roads are super dangerous. All this stuff that started to dilute the dream, the pureness of the dream that I had in my heart. That was like, this is what I want to do. Got mixed up with those fears, which started to kind of deteriorate away the dream. And there's like a little bit of like, well, maybe I should stay in Orlando.
Yeah.
And
we even had a moment like that, bro. When we were talking about moving to LA, it's like, let's do it like soon. And then we were like,
Right.
let's do it in 2 years.
right.
And that's why we were like, let's move out somewhere in Florida. And then we had the opportunity to take the trip in March of 2023. And that helped to open it up again. And it was like one of those things that once we came, we were like, yo, it's either now, because we could go back home and be like, let's do it. Okay, now we know that it's possible. Let's try it in 2 years. If you leave too much space between that initial moment of like, yes, I feel something.
Right.
I believe this is possible.
Right.
And like the next step for you to take the next step to making it come true. If you delay, it's challenging to get the momentum going again. You almost have to kind of like put your blinders on and be a little crazy and go for it, because life happens and it's never convenient. It's never
right.
a better time. It's never easier. Could be, but it also couldn't be.
Right.
It could be just the same. And if you wait for it to be the right time, right? It doesn't happen. And I think that was one of the cool things about the process of moving out here was the building blocks for us to get here. Like you were saying, like we went on the trip in March. We had multiple encounters with amazing people who really inspired us. And we loved what was possible here on top of the mountains and the hikes. And like right there and then there, like we were in that same trip, we were in the hotel room producing for Harley for March 2023.
Yes.
And we were already on the road producing Everflow stuff. Like, look, this is possible. Like, and then we were having that conversation. All right, if we were to move, what month would it work? And we came up with August.
Yep.
And then we moved it back 2 weeks to September because of scheduling. But we stuck with August and we wrote it down on the whiteboard that was in your room.
Yep.
And then what's the next step? Okay, let's try to figure out the logistics of what's this going to cost.
Let's look into an Airbnb.
Yeah. And like, how much is the U-Haul going to be?
Right.
About $3,000 to $4,000 plus gas. Cool. Now we know that we need to split $2,000 and save $2,000 each in time for that. Okay, the Airbnb. Okay, this one looks good. It's not going to work. How about this one? Great, that one works. We got to climb up 75 steps to get there. And there's no parking, no events.
That's right.
It's going to be crazy, but it's really nice. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It has a view of downtown.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't even know, like probably like 2 or 3 months before moving is when we started like locking in Airbnbs. We like 2 months before is probably when we locked in with Zach. And those little steps, the little momentum pieces, like even the small things that we don't even remember, like starting to like communicate with our friends and family, like this is happening.
Yeah.
And the date is set and I have to leave. Like, I think I remember when I was telling my mom, my sis, my best friends, my father, like letting them know, hey guys, I love you all. And this is something that is happening. And I think even from March is when I started letting people know.
A year prior.
Yeah, March, early 2023, before September 2023. So like 8 months before the move.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Like 6 months before the move. Because I was like, yo, and we had that conversation kind of like you and I in LA in March. We were like, I think this is going to happen. Are you in? I'm in. Should we do this? Let's freaking go. All right, let's figure out how we're going to do it. And like making the decision and sticking to it and helping each other whenever we had moments of weakness. Like kind of helping each other because we know that the other person is certain and on. That's the blessing of teamwork and partnership. I remember when we were planning on doing the Mazda with a trailer hitched up to it. That small little trailer. And we were just going to do the test move, or what was it?
Like soft landing.
Like a soft landing and leaving the some belongings in Florida.
Majority of belongings.
Yeah, leaving a room rented. And then one day Tones was like, David, what if we took everything with us? What if we get a 20-foot U-Haul? We tow my car behind it and we just don't leave anything. Let's take it all and no looking back. And the room at Eric's place, let it go. Because I was like, what? I'm going to be back once a month. So let me just hold on to this room. We could split it if we, no, bro. You were like, yo, what if we took everything? I was like, oh, that one was scary as heck for me. Because that really meant kind of committing to the course of action and to the intention that we had. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, well, how much more is it going to cost? And we figured it out. And it's like, yeah. And then we started getting rid of stuff. We started tying the loose ends, of things that we needed to address. And then.
And it's amazing because when you start the momentum of like, okay, this is the transition, I'm making it happen. That's when the bittersweet things start to come into play, where it's like, oh, that's right, but I'm going to miss out on this, or I'm going to be away from this person, or I really don't know how it's going to look, and I don't know how money is, but I'm confident that I could make things work here. Was that just like a emotional type of thing that those thoughts compete for the pureness of the dream, and that's where it's so important to have that cloudy dream like written down, or at least just knowing firmly what that is. That way, that's what you can go back to. And if you need to pivot. Like soft landing, we're doing a soft landing. It's like, actually pivot. We're going to do a hard landing. We're here.
Yeah, with all of our stuff.
and yeah, what was that bittersweet experience for you in the way of like, for you were in Orlando for 20 years. So like uprooting for the first time ever, moving away from your family, yet being here, you're here.
I think one of the biggest and most challenging bits of it that was bittersweet was like realizing how much I had taken my friends and family for granted. And just like people that had been there for me forever and people that I love. And like all of a sudden I'm like, dang, I'm going to be 2,500 miles across the country and seeing them the way I did before, not going to be like, see you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different, and the bittersweetness was that, like, I think, and I was also majorly blessed because I felt how much love and support that I had from those people as well. I knew that I could count on them. And this move was a testament to it because they all showed up and they were all so kind and they were all present and supporting me, and everyone was crying as I was leaving and I was crying as I was leaving. Mm-hmm. Oh man, like the bittersweetness too is like thinking about all the challenges that I had been on, that I had encountered in the 20 years that I've been there. A lot of different things, and kind of also feeling like, wow, like having a big perspective shift, like, yo, none of that has been in vain. Like all of it has helped me become who I am, and it's given me this opportunity that I have now to do this. Mm-hmm. So like even the hardest things, even the most challenging things, even the things that I might be hard on myself about because I didn't do this thing or I didn't get that thing or I didn't make the best of this thing, like even those things helped to kind of come back into perspective and be like, you know what? All things considered, I'm very blessed. I'm so grateful. And now I know the value of friends and family. Now I know, and I'm always learning the value of time. Mm-hmm. Like the time goes and you can't get it back. It wasn't in vain. It helps to inform you and prepare you. But, leaving Orlando was like a bit of just having a chance to like have these lessons in a beautiful time of my life where I'm starting a new chapter. I'm like, wow, okay, now that I'm letting go of these things that I love so dearly.
Right.
To come out here by myself with you, by myself, and like, what am I doing out here? Mm-hmm. Great. YLA, welcome to the episode. Did you have any bittersweet moments?
Oh yeah. The thing is, again, I moved from Seattle to Orlando back in 2015, so I'm familiar with those experiences. And woo, man, that time when I was hugging my brother, I love you, man. He's like, bro, I'm gonna see you next month. I know, but I miss you already. I was a mess when I moved from Seattle to Orlando. And I'm so grateful that I made that move, because for me, I had a slew of fears that, I mean, to be transparent, I had a major fear because I was dealing with some kind of like dissociative panic attack moments in Seattle. And I was like, oh my gosh, the last thing I want to happen is to move across the country where I don't know anybody, and this happens in the middle of the night. What do I do then? I've never had that experience. And guess what? I had a few of them in Orlando and tapped into my resources and was able to find my way through it. And I'm alive.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to have gone through everything that I've gone through that has led me to this moment, because that then strengthened me to have the willingness and capacity to make the move that I have here. Again, has its own slew of fears. At that point in time, my girlfriend and I were together. So it's like, I originally was totally 100% willing and wanting to make that move and to keep that rocking. And then for me, one of the strongest bittersweet moments was just realizing all of a sudden my heart changed. I had a change of heart where it's like, I totally mentally could work this out and figure things out. But for me in that transition, it's like, I also can't deny like a matter of the heart. And so in logistics of getting the move happening, I also was totally wrestling with my heart on what decision to make. And I just went as deep as I possibly could go to get the purest sense of confirmation of what decision to make, and then made that decision. And that to me has been a practice on so many things that matter to me, where I don't want to get in my own way and like impulsively make a decision, or out of fear make a particular decision, including not moving here out of fear, but to consistently move with love, move with power, move with clarity, move with intention and purpose and honesty, knowing that all of that is going to lead to the freedom, to the abundance, to the dreams that I have, and the impact I want to have on other people, and the way in which I can show up more full. Because I'm moving from a sense of knowing I am giving absolutely everything that I can to be open, honest, and intentional in wherever I'm at. And no matter how much heartbreak was a part of this experience, I'm tremendously grateful to have still followed the calling. Because I feel like in anything like this, there's, let's say I stayed in Orlando, but I had this like mulling around feeling of like, I'm not listening to what I could have listened to. In a way, it's kind of a disservice to just everything that's going on. So that to me was like bittersweet and also heartbreaking. To, even though I only felt a couple percentages of a degree towards that's the right direction. It's not like, whoom, turn right, got it. It was like 2 degrees to the right. It's like, okay, God, you say to trust you. Here we go. And trusting that, and still every day, like following with that trusted one step at a time, which I think is Proverbs 16:9, which is, I think the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So that element of like taking the time to plan, taking the time to dream, taking the time to take action on that, but also entrusting that all of it, I can't control the outcome just because I showed up. But what I can control is myself and the way that I'm showing up in particularly this transition to LA. And trusting that everything's going to be all right. And trusting that I'm going to make rent. And trusting that this project's going to come to fruition. And trusting that that everything's going to be okay. Hey man, I was just looking for the time. This is a Wendy's.
I think taking the time to listen is a very important piece, and to trust the things that you hear in those moments. And sometimes those moments aren't very glorious. Like sometimes they're challenging moments. I have that experience firsthand, where I remember a few years ago in Orlando, like I was doing a gig at a place where I felt like I was done. And I remember like when I was walking out afterwards, I was like, I shouldn't be here anymore. And then a few years passed, another few years passed, you know? And the reason I bring it up is because, you know, ultimately in the grand scheme of life, nothing is ever wasted.
Right.
And God has a plan and God can redeem, you know? But it is a beautiful thing to pay attention to those things. And the more you can listen to them, the sooner you kind of get on that path and track that God has for you.
Right.
That plan, that purpose, that alignment with who you think you are and who you say you are and who you are being, you know, like respecting yourself enough to do the things that you feel are on your heart, you know? And it was one of the prices that I paid in a way where, like, when I was young, 16, 17, 18, my dream was to do what I started doing when I was 21, 22, 23. I kind of reached my dream around 23, 24, the ones that I was dreaming as a youngster. And then I learned that you have to reset your sights, because if you don't, you kind of like settle, things start getting a little less shiny. Resentment starts to build. All of a sudden, you're not feeling fulfilled in the way you did. Like the journey that I was up to into that point served its purpose, and I reached my goal. And then I experienced what it is to not pay attention to the thing that is on your heart next. And then kind of what comes along with it. Man, you can really get lost. You can hurt. You can feel like your confidence gets hit. Your self-worth gets hit, shame starts to increase, you know? So why LA? I came to LA because I knew it would help me detach from a good bit of all those narratives and old patterns of thought, patterns of habit, because I had kind of gotten to this place as a 29-year-old where I had many times not listened to the thing that was on my heart. So moving to LA in a way, I've said it a few times, has been really beautiful because it's helped me to recover parts of myself that I had been looking for, you know? And the thing is, this is a point that I also would like to make. It's not going somewhere that does it. Right. Because I've been in many places and I've been with myself there all those times, you know?
Still with myself.
Yo, bro, like the saying of like, wherever you go, you're there with you.
Right.
You can't run away from parts of you.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that need the most love and healing. The only way to deal with them is to really listen to those things that perhaps you've been kind of ignoring for some time, and it's time to give them a chance to come to the light and honor them. And sometimes they're a little scary because it means maybe detaching from a way of life that you've been used to, some comfort, some security financially, some relationship. You know? Some habit, some way that you know this is not what I was meant for. And that's the journey that I'm on currently. And that's why I'm in LA, is to continue to shine the light on the parts of me that I have turned away from for so long. And it's a beautiful thing to be here, man. Because, you know, like you say, going back to Orlando feels kind of like really challenging. And imagining myself still being there is even more challenging. Because I know it's not the place. It's like the person that you are, wherever you are.
Right.
And I knew that the person that I was in Orlando was kind of hurting a lot and was like fighting to not give up on a dream.
Right.
And so I didn't run away from anything because I knew that there's no way to. I'm with myself. So when I moved to LA, I brought my baggage. Yo, real talk. Why LA? You know, like coming here has been an opportunity to unpack all the baggage that I brought with me that I didn't know I had brought with me. And it's been like a process of like, holy smokes, this is the stuff that's underneath the surface. Like I need to unpack these things.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it because, you know, moving away from the place where I had created so much habit and comfort allows me to have less distractions in a way. You know, less of like the busyness and like the responsibilities and the just the things that you do when you know a place and you settle in and like, this is my pattern. This is how I do it.
Right.
Yeah, man.
I guess for me now that we're kind of warmed up in it, for me, why LA in a succinct way like that is, I know what a dream feels like on my heart when it's designed for me. And I knew some development of that dream is going to come to fruition by being in LA. Again, LA isn't the answer. For me, I have learned many times over that God is the answer, which can be found anywhere, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you talked about who I'm becoming. I'm actually focused less on what I accomplish, which used to be the huge thing. I'm getting a Grammy. I'm getting a million streams on this, a billion streams on that, 100,000 followers on every single account. Like, and granted, being able to impact people worldwide is absolutely a dream. But I'm far more focused now on who I'm becoming in this whole process and trusting that as long as I'm walking on God's path, all of what is going to happen or meant to happen will happen. If I wasn't meant to move to LA and you and I made this move out here trying to make something happen that wasn't for us, God would find a way to steer us in a different direction. And so for me, getting back to this, it's like how many iterations of why?
There are multiple whys.
There are. I mean, really, at the simplest form, it's to answer the calling of the dream that I originally had years ago, and just seeing it through, knowing that, yes, I have certain goals and dreams that I want to achieve, and yes, there's a heck of a lot of mystery involved. But the beautiful combo of all of that is as long as I continue learning and showing up and creating follow-through and consistent discipline and developing who I am, the dreams will continue to reveal themselves and will be more and more accomplished. So, yeah, I guess it isn't necessarily a super easy answer. Yet, I almost feel like this is going to be a multi-part thing because this is like
Every few months.
We literally
Why LA?
Like
Part 2.
7 questions and we only asked 1, and it's been like an hour and a half. So this might be a multi-part
It might.
episode, which is kind of cool because I like the element. I really enjoy the element of speaking about the depths of just this process of why we made this move, what we experienced in the whole process, what roadblocks we experienced individually and collectively, and just the lessons that we've learned along the way. Because there's some valuable insight
Yeah.
that we're continually learning.
I resonate a lot with what you said at the end about a minute and a half ago about the reason why you came is like to realize the vision of what God has put on your heart.
Yeah.
I might be paraphrasing in my own way, but I feel very much similarly. Like the reason I came to LA was to bring to life the thing that I have been given in my heart and that I've been kind of afraid of opening up to and committing to and believing is possible. And ultimately, that's why I'm here, to get to experience what's possible on the other side of fear and doubt and kind of hesitation, kind of lack of clarity, you know?
Yeah. Dude, there's so many. I'm glad we're doing a podcast. We should do a podcast. I'm glad we're doing a podcast because I really feel like there's a lot of like nuances that we can go deep into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any final themes you want to touch? Because I know we've probably been at it for an hour, so
We have.
it's been good. I love this. It's a good opening.
Yeah.
I think, and I would love to talk a little bit about even something that you shared with me before the podcast started about the intention, like the reason we're sharing this, is so that if there's any dreamers watching, any people on the edge of taking a jump and they don't know what's on the other side,
Right.
or any people who've kind of like hung up their dreams, but still feel the dream calling back to them. Like this is for you with so much love and so much care and so much reverence, because, you know, there's many reasons why we're doing it, but you know,
And the beautiful thing is too, is by us opening up the door about our process of dreaming and setting that dream into action, and then the doors opening with that intention, I don't even think there needs to be a specific like outcome, because it's beyond our control. But there is a lot of power by going as deep as possible. Like, you know, even some logistics, like how much it actually cost to get the U-Haul. I know that's something that's like, but like how much was it with gas and everything like that time of year?
Yeah.
And not that we need to go into every single specific thing, but just knowing from the dream to the plan to the challenges to the follow through. What it makes me think of is I watched this video a long time ago. Steve Harvey did a video where he said something along the lines of, you know, you're watching all these people, you're standing on the top of a cliff and you're watching all these people flying out there. It's like, man, that looks amazing. I want to fly like that. I want to do that so much, so bad. I want to do that. But until you're willing to make the leap, nothing's going to happen. And also, just because you leap doesn't mean it's going to happen.
right?
And it's not going to happen immediately.
Come on.
That you will bang your knee, break your wrist as you're.
Well, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
You'll a couple
And
bruises
repair it.
and scratches. Maybe bumping into a few people on the way down.
Yep, get wrapped up. Yep. ER on control as you're going down, wrapping up your wrist and fixing you up.
You're good, man. Just start flapping.
But just knowing that just because you leap doesn't. So if you don't leap, nothing will happen. If you leap, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Unless as you leap, you have the persistence. This is not what he's saying. This is my own.
No,
version
come on.
Of being able to move with faith in yourself, in the dream, in the just knowing what you can do today and handling that one task brings things closer to fruition of you being able to eventually soar and be able to fly
Yeah.
in your own way. So it's not in a comparison of flying higher than that. At least I don't envision it as that, as like competition of flying higher than anybody else because I'm the best.
Everyone's got their own style when flying. You can fly however you want.
100%. So it's that, for me, it's that like competition with yourself type of thing of how far can I go? How high can I fly? And yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's more I want to touch on, but on a different episode.
We'll do it on the next episode. Last thing before we sign off.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about that theme of flying. I love your analogies. In order to fly, you have to believe you can fly.
Woo.
And we'll see y'all next time. No, I mean, seriously, I say it again because it's something that I've learned in my life. You know, like the world can believe in you and be like, oh my gosh, you're going to be the most amazing flyer. Like, you got it, man. But if you don't believe it for yourself, there's no way it's going to happen.
Right.
even if it's meant to happen.
Right.
Like, you have to find a way to believe that the thing that you most want in life, or the goal or the destiny or whatever, or the, the feeling that you most want in life is possible. Because there has to be something that pulls you towards it.
Yeah.
If not, half-heartedness and like, oh, I tried one thing and it doesn't work. Or like, oh, look, it hasn't happened yet. And so it's not meant to. Like, those are all toxic BS, get them out of here. Mm-hmm. But they come if there isn't that belief in oneself. That is a lifelong journey. And that requires balance. That requires humility, a little bit of ego, a little mix of things. Mm-hmm. Tequila every now and then. Not necessarily. Lots of water. It does require water. But honestly, like flying, you have to jump. But like, not only jump, like do yourself the favor and give yourself the gift of believing that it's possible to do the thing that you're jumping for.
Yeah.
Because that's how it happens. That's the magic piece. And as you do that, you'll find other people who are also flying believers. They're like, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. We're still going, we're going to do this. I know it. This is what I was made for. Yo, as you fly, you find those people. Those are the people you want to fly with.
Yeah, 100%. Power of association.
Amen.
Being in the room with believers.
That's it.
Of like believers that, hey, I believe in myself. I know that I can do this. I know that you can do this.
Yes, we're doing this.
Yeah, here are some legitimate tools and value that you can actually apply to create your own path.
Yeah.
Because I think also another analogy that I've heard about is, the notion of kind of people that aren't, that believe a lot of scarcity mindset things. And let's say they're just a whole community of that. And then you're like the one person that's just like, this is the dream I'm going to go do. I'm going to go make this happen.
Right.
And it's kind of like the whole notion of, I believe, if I heard this correctly, that like crabs, when they're all in a bucket and like one crab tries to climb out, I don't know if they do it intentionally or not, but the other crabs pull them down.
Right.
So it's like being able to know that if you're in an association of people that are of scarcity mindset or tainted dreams or jaded or fear-based or lost, rigid,
inflexible.
Yeah. And you become too intimate with that type of a setting, it can have an influence on you. Similarly to being with people who have flexibility, who attempt and learn. Like one thing that I've learned in this process of moving out here is just applying forgiveness and grace and resiliency in like a neutral way. Being able to be like, ooh, I just fell on my face. Time to get back up. All right, that really hurt, but hey, here we go. Versus like, got on my face. Why am I here again?
Yeah.
I can't believe that this is happening to me again. I did this to myself. And it's like, brother, chill. And knowing that for me, a part of this is I have realized that sometimes I will use anger unintentionally as a barricade to keep me from moving forward. That I'll use anger as like well, I'm stuck here on the ground again and I fell again. And it's just turning around and just repeating the same pattern and hitting the wall. And then again, I did it.
More.
Right. Versus realizing like, oh, hold up. I can actually zoom out from this moment and realize there's actually something on the other side of this barricade. So if I actually am slow to anger, if I release this anger and I choose resiliency, grace, resourcefulness, gratitude, anything to lower that barricade that way I actually can step over it, then now I'm in a new plane of existence that's actually more capable and willing to be able to push through what I would originally have just stopped at.
Yeah, what would have originally hung you up.
Yeah.
Kept you from moving forward and giving your gifts.
By believing in myself. And many more things. This is awesome, bro.
This is part one of the Why LA conversation.
Yeah.
We'll touch back on many times throughout our lives.
Oh yeah.
Because it really has been a blessing. It's been a blessing to be able to do it together as a team.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started.
Yeah.
We have some really cool things coming up. We have some really cool things going on. And we're officially signing off on the podcast. So if you'd like to check out some of the things that we got going on, visit us at everflowsound.com. You can visit everflowpodcast.com for more resources regarding the podcast for past episodes and whatnot. And thank you so much for spending your day with us. We appreciate it. We'll be doing these episodes frequently because there are many things that Tones and I have learned and that we are actively learning and that we want to continue being able to give back, because I've learned that the things that I've received aren't necessarily mine to keep. And it's even more of a blessing for everybody, including myself, when I can give back what I've learned and what I've experienced. So that's why we're here. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time.
Much love, fam. Peace.
Yeah.